Hey guys, and welcome to the Game Parlor. Tonight I am with the two-time store champion Wilson Wong, and he's going to show us how he makes a sealed deck. And as we go through this process, I'm going to ask him questions like, hey, what are you looking at? How do you start building your deck? What cards do you think are good and why? So we got 12 packs here. Wilson, tomorrow's the RCQ. Are you coming for that?
I am.
Awesome. All right, so actually I have 10 packs.
Yeah.
That I can't count. Grab 6 of them.
All right, I'll just remove 2.
Okay, very good.
Wait, 3, 5, 6. Oh, yeah. Okay.
There you go. Okay, so we got 6 packs, and Wilson's gonna start opening them. Go for it.
All right, so
go for it.
Yeah, so the first thing I do is I just open all my packs, so I don't waste any time. So the first thing I'm gonna do after opening my packs is I'm gonna sort my cards while I'm sorting by color, and while I'm sorting by my packs, I'm paying attention to what cards stick out to me. So in sealed, what you want is to balance having a lot of power in your deck as well as consistency, because you still need to cast spells in order to win. If you don't play anything, you can just die to someone just playing a 2-3 curve.
So you're trying to find a balance, not too weak on the late game, but not too slow in the early game.
Yeah, so after, when I build my pool, let's see. So I'm sorting by color.
All right, so this is nice. We started off with 2 rares, 1 artifact rare and Painful Quandary.
All right. Ooh, that's a pretty good pull.
Ooh, Urza, look at you.
Let's see. So this is basically how I organize.
Okay. So artifacts, colors, multicolor. Okay.
One thing interesting about this set is a lot of your cards are going to be artifacts, so you might actually be able to play 1 to 2 colors. All right. Also, this card is interesting. Oh, these are some pretty good cards.
Oh, that means the people playing against you tonight are in trouble.
Yeah, so when after I go through my pool, I will split my cards. I'll separate the playable cards from the not playable cards to see how deep the colors are. Oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
To see how deep the colors are, and ideally you would like to play all your best cards, but with a random pool of cards, oftentimes you're having to pair your strongest cards with your deepest color, but you should first see the best deck you can build, and then you can also check out the most consistent deck you can build with your pool, and then compare how strong the 2 are. And you actually may play both decks depending on your matchups, because your opponents can have more greedy decks than you, and if you just play that out, chances are you'll lose. So you might have to try win on a different axis. So like if your opponent just has better liking than you, then you may just have to go aggressive. So when you're building your pool, you want to build both your greedy deck, and I would recommend you sleeve both of them so that you can quickly sideboard between the 2 decks.
Wow, I had no idea. So you've been building 2 decks when you play these sealed. So if you see like a greedy deck, you bust out your like aggro quick deck.
I've tried it like a few times, but the thing is, it also takes a lot of time to do.
Okay.
So, but if you wanted to increase your chance, that is what you should be doing.
Okay.
So right now I'm separating cards that I think are good and the cards that I don't think are good. So these cards, I think, in sealed, you really want cards to have high impact. So cards like these cards, a 1/1.
Oh, you got to show it to the camera.
Oh yeah, so cards like this, a 1/1. It's like okay on turn 1, and then it's really bad at all other points of the game. Cards like this has a really good mana ability, really good mana, to have mana.
So it's okay in the beginning of the early
Yes.
game, and then late game it's really good.
Yeah,
in
so
case you've stalled out and have nothing else to
yeah,
do.
so a lot of these are definitely playable.
Okay. So these top layers are not playable. You're just
Yeah.
gonna cut them.
Well,
Okay.
it's possible I play them, but chances are I'm probably not.
Okay.
So I'm seeing.
You guys can come over here if you want to watch. We have an audience who wants to learn from the best. They're shy though. Okay, so not too many cards where you're just
Yeah.
cutting them out. That's good.
Yeah, this will also help you identify how deep a color is.
Okay.
So just from the pile of cards here, there aren't even that many cards in this pile.
Okay.
So chances are I'm not going to play red, but you never
Okay.
know because there's a lot of cards here.
Yeah.
Also, there are some context-dependent choices you will make, such as in this set, there are a lot of artifact creatures. A lot of the big creatures are artifact creatures, so artifacts removal
It's huge.
is a lot better.
Yeah. And it's almost an auto include. At least
Yeah.
for me. But I'm the bad player.
Honestly, I think you probably should be playing them.
Yeah.
So a lot of these cards are totally fine.
Okay, so we have a couple, after you've sorted through here, we have a
Yes.
couple minutes before
Sure.
everybody gets here. So I'd like you to discuss with the viewers, what is a card that you think is like, this is trash, I'm not, these cards that you've excluded from the pool. So discuss what a good card is and what a bad card is. So that way people like me can pick up on that.
Yeah, so you want your cards to do things like some of the cards here, like this is a fine body. It's a 3/3.
Show it to the camera.
It's a
Yeah, there you go. Is it?
yeah. This is a 4-mana 3/3, which is understated, but in the right deck, it can be a way to win games. And then let's see. Scatter Rate is really good in this set. Hits artifacts and creatures, basically pretty most things. So this is almost as good as Essence Scatter. This is good at all points of the game. Really good removal. Counter spell, you may or may, if you can play instant speed, then that's just a solid removal. These are just solid on rate cards. Yeah, all these cards are really good. They're good early and they're good late. So that's ideally what you want in your cards, to be good early and late.
Okay.
So even though you have some cheap cards, they always do things like this. This can just cycle itself, and it can block ones and twos.
So I do have a question about this card. Why is this excluded? I feel like I would have looked at that card and be like, oh, I can tap 2 creatures and they don't untap. That seems like it could be good.
It's possible this can be good, but you need to be a very aggressive deck to take advantage of the tempo of tapping 2 creatures down. Like if you have a fine-tuned aggro deck, this card is really good.
Okay.
But if you don't have that, you're just throwing away a card.
Okay.
And in sealed, you really want to be doing stuff. In Magic in general, you really want to be doing stuff every single turn.
Okay.
And if your deck is kind of inconsistent, you may not. Actually, I should put this in this pile.
Oh, hey.
This is something I should consider.
Okay. All right.
I shouldn't just eliminate that.
Okay. All right.
Also, interestingly, there are assembly workers in the set, so
Yes.
you don't need to have 2 of these. This can fetch assembly workers. There are some in the set.
Okay.
So that's a consideration. Also, Unearth is really good in this set. This card is actually really annoying because if your opponent, because this thing can untap, so there are cards in the set that such as this, that taps a creature down and doesn't untap it, but you can actually use the ability to untap it. So then I've had that card, but I've been really annoying.
Yeah, there's a lot of white, can't block or exile. I guess, yeah, the blue makes things tap down, so that would make sense.
Yeah, so... Yeah, so it can be misleading how many playables you have, because a lot of the colorless cards you can play in any color. So like this card, this is really good on turn 7, but also totally fine on turn 4. So you don't even need to be green to play this card, because the gain 6 life is huge. So some of these cards, like this card, 4 mana 2/2, draw a card, you lose 1 life. You don't need to have black to make this to play this card. So in this set there are a lot more playables.
Okay.
So let's go over these cards. This, I guess, could see play. These could see play, but I'm probably not going to play this. These cards are way too low impact. 1/1 doesn't do that much early. Does almost nothing late. Okay. This card is just bad on raids. This is 6 mana. Oh yeah, this is 6 mana 4/4. Not going to play that. No, these are like really inefficient, and trying to get the synergy is very unlikely to go off. And from looking at my red, it's not even that deep. So these cards I'm cutting out of contention. This card I can probably play in just about any deck. Right, so I'm gonna set these aside.
Okay, those are set aside.
Right, so these are the cards in contention. Looking at red, let's see. So that's Combat Trick. Like this card is great, but looking at it, like this is like the only good card. This is like replacement level. This is like filler. Or this is filter. This is okay, but you need a lot of artifacts. Like collectively, this is only a couple cards, so chances are I'm not gonna play red. So I'm gonna set that aside for now.
Okay.
So it looks like I have a lot of. I haven't looked at the card quality, but it looks like blue, black, green has a lot of cards. Also, these cards are not that good, so I can also eliminate those from consideration. So these cards are more difficult to play in the same deck. These are a lot of gold cards. I'm gonna take a look at those later. I'm gonna see my curve, like my artifact cards that can fill out a curve to get an idea of what I have to work with. Honestly, Millstone is probably too slow, because in sealed you have 6 rares, but in this set, because of the retro artifact slot, decks can have as many as like 8, 9, 10 rares, so using the strategy is way too slow. I've had decks where I had 2 of these and I still did not want to play them. Alright, so these cards, probably not going to play. This card can be pretty good. So this is black. These are blue. This is like filler. Probably not going to play this. Flask is, might fit. The Sigil Valor is a way you can break board stalls. And this is why you really need to have artifact removal, because a lot of the big threats in this set are artifacts. This is fine. So like this is a black card, I'd say. Chromatic Lantern. If you're gonna play 5 colors, Chromatic Lantern is amazing. And Symmetry Matrix, I would need to have a lot of creatures with the same power and toughness for me to want to play this card, because 4 mana to do nothing is not good. And you would have to draw so many cards for this to be good, because say typically you pay 2 to 3 mana to get an extra card, so you'd have to draw probably 4, let's say maybe 4 cards to be happy with this, so that would be like 2 mana each, and the chances of having a deck like that is very unlikely. So chances are I won't play this, but I'll leave it as a consideration. These cards are, so you're basically paying the body is like worth 2 mana, and the Power Stone, you're paying like 2 mana for the Power Stone, which is not a bad rate if you have larger artifact creatures to play, which we do have some. Also, you can use these for activated abilities. So these may be playable. Although it looks like we actually don't have too many big artifact creatures. Alright, so it also looks like we don't have the trio to turn this on. So these are a little understated. Alright, so let's see. So this is actually an assembly worker, so this can actually fetch this. So one hit is pretty good, but may not make the cuts. Alright, so it looks like, looking over this pool, we have a few good too. So like, I'm happy with this card. If I'm playing black, this is great. Sigil is a good way to break board stalls. Lantern may just be good. And these cards, these three cards can fit in a lot of decks if I have ways to use the mana. And Mightstone is obviously, actually, you know what? I can actually make the Planeswalker.
Yeah?
You can actually do it. Wow.
What is the other half? Oh, is this the other half?
Yeah.
Well, by default, for me, I'd be going blue-white.
Yeah, this card. This card is pretty. Like, if you can flip it, you're probably you have a good shot of winning because there aren't too many ways to kill Planeswalkers in the set. So there's a white-red removal that deals 4. I think that's an uncommon.
Okay.
And then there's also the 4 black instant exile creature or Planeswalker.
Okay.
So there aren't too many ways to deal with Planeswalkers, and in Eliminated, Sealed especially, boards can stall out. So this could be a way to close out the game. So I want to briefly look over my gold cards to see the power level of this card. It's on its own, it doesn't really do that much because the discount isn't going to be all that meaningful. So you're mainly playing this as a 3 mana 2/4 with the upside of if you have the 2, you could win the game. This card is really good on raids. This is a way you can kill people because when you sacrifice artifacts, all your creatures get menace and power. So this makes blocking really difficult. So this, if you have a large board, you can just win the game from this card. This card, if you have a lot of 6 power creatures, this becomes a draw engine. This can ramp a lot. Actually, it seems like all these golden cards are pretty good if I'm in those decks. So I'm going to set those aside for now. Alright, so looking at this, looks like a lot of these cards are colorless that I can play in just about any deck. This card, it's understated, so I'm not a big fan of it. But for the most part, looking at it, these are the cards that stick out the most that I really want to play. This, I'm happy to play in any deck. This is really good. These cards, I may or may not play because I may not have ways to spend the Power Stones. But this card, I can probably fit in any deck and be happy with it. Especially, also, it's worth noting that this is black, and this is also black, so that's more cards in black, so it's a push towards black. And also I do have a decent amount of black, so it's consideration that I might go into black. The Lantern might make fixing easier. Also the Flask can make fixing easier. And with some of these artifacts, I may want to pay attention to if there's ways to take advantage of artifacts. Alright, so I'm going to set these aside for now. And then I'll look at my colors. But there's probably like 7, 8-ish. Also, this can be good. There's maybe 8 artifact cards that I can fit in just about any deck. So there are less color spells that I need to put into my deck to make playables. So now I'm gonna do this and sort by color. There's some decent cards in here. This card is amazing. Yeah, this is a card that can hit Planeswalkers. That card you're happy to play for 5. It looks like I have a lot of ways to create artifacts. Alright, so Disfigure is great. Power Stone. Because I have so many ways to make Power Stones, I can cast this relatively easily and not take a big cost. Gixxer's Crest is a good card. Basically, you normally pay 2 mana to have these kind of effects to target your opponent's hand and take a card. So you're basically paying 1 mana additional to have a Power Stone, which is pretty good. And this card, the stats, it blocks pretty well. So it's 5 stats for 3 mana, which is slightly below rate because it's a 1/4, it's pretty good at blocking, and it's a way you can kill people. So that's a pretty good card. This card, even if you had take 2, paying 3 mana to draw 2 cards is pretty good. But it is double black, so you do have to lean more into black. Well, this card is just amazing. If you can play your big creatures, like you can play the Baldur Branch Golem, and with the Defiance you can gain a lot of life. So you can totally flip the games. You can be a little slower starting, and this can totally flip the game. This card, in most decks, most creature decks, this will draw a card. So the rate, you're basically 2/3 is worth like 2 mana, so you're basically paying 2 mana to get a card, which is pretty good. That's about what you want to pay. So this card's obviously good. These cards, 4/5, you might just play them for the stats. Probably not, but if you can have a lot of card draw, these are a menace to deal with. They're difficult to block, and because there are instant speed ways to draw cards, these cards can make racing really difficult, and they trade up. Gix's Command is a great way to grind people out. And Painful Quandary, whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless they discard a card. I don't know how to evaluate this card. It might be playable.
In Two-Headed Giant, it destroyed us. But this is not Two-Headed Giant.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the ruling on that. Like, if your opponent has no cards in hand, I'm guessing they have to pay the 5 life, but I'm not sure. But looking at this, so Gix's Command, I would like to play in just about, this is really high power level. So these cards, 1, 2, 3, these are great, these are great, these are great, these are great. So it's probably like 8 really good cards in here. But obviously there are other cards that I could put in to get to 40 cards if needed. So black looks to be pretty good, and also there were a number of black cards in here, so in total that's over 10. So black is pretty deep, so I'm liking black.
You got a lot of rares in black too, so that helps.
And then let's look at white. Let's look at blue. Blue, I don't have too many blue cards, but they are decent cards. So this card is amazing, 1 mana removal. This card, even if you make this into a 1/4 for 2 mana, blocks really well. This card's really good. This card, I have a lot of Power Stones, so this is a really good card. Cycles for 4/4. Scatter Ray, it's fine to play. This card, probably not worth playing because it doesn't look like I have too much card draw. Now this card is really good. This is actually a really good use of all the Power Stones I can create. So it's possible I go blue-black if I have enough artifacts in black so that I don't need to play too many blue cards. So more ways to create artifacts. And this card is pretty good on raids, counterspell. It doesn't, like my blue isn't especially deep, but if my black is deep enough, I can go for something like this. But I don't like the power level of this card. So it's possible to go blue-black, but I want to see if I can do better. Let's look at green. Right. And while I'm doing this, I'm paying attention. Oh, this card is really good. I'm paying attention to the other cards I have, so I'm thinking the combination of cards I have to be able to make a 40-card deck. So these cards are actually really good. Even though there aren't too many of them, the card quality is really high. Giant Growth, 1 mana 3/3 is huge. Bushwhack, awesome, especially if you're playing multicolor. Now, Animist can solo win games. It's kind of like, I forget what the name of the card is, but there was, in the snow set, there was Avalanche Caller, that card, being able to turn your snowlands into, I think, 4/4s. This kind of does the same, but you need Power Stones, but in our pool, we have a ton of ways to make Power Stones, so this is amazing. This card, really good removal. This can win games, and this is also a great way to use your Power Stones. This card gets a land. Now these two cards are really above rates. Now this card you might just play for the stats. This 4 mana is a little expensive, but it pretty much kills everything you want to kill. Kills flyers, kills problematic artifacts. Sometimes people have enchantments such as white enchantments in this set. In this card, this will block all flyers, and you can actually put one of your good cards back into your deck, such as you could put back your Gix's command. So you could loop. Technically, you could loop, although it would take a lot of work, but it's playable. So it looks like green card quality is really high, so I would be happy to play this. So right now the front runner looks like possibly a green-black deck. Now let's look at white. Alright, so Deadly Riposte is the kind of card that you can sideboard in if you're facing aggro. This is backbreaking. It's basically a Lightning Helix versus weak creatures. Disenchant, really good. This is a good aggro card. This, really intensive. Alright, from the looks of it, I'm not really happy playing much of any of this. This card is fine. This card, don't want to play. This, I don't even have that many good hits. And I would have to discard cards, so it looks like white is not that good. So I'm probably gonna, looks like I'm just counting whites and blue, because the card quality is not up to what I want. Now let's look at this. So obviously I'm looking at black-green. Now what of these cards are worth splashing? I'm not splashing red for this. This, maybe. I would have to splash 2 colors, well, 1 color for this. I would splash 1 color for this. I would have to splash 2 colors for this. I would splash 1 color for this. I would have to splash 2 colors for this. So chances are I'm probably, like, if I had more time, it's possible. Actually, you know what, now think about it, white and blue were pretty light colors in terms of playables. So I don't think I would be able to come up with a white-blue deck and have enough quality removals, quality cards. And even if I had enough, the card quality is pretty low. Alright, so for now I'm gonna discount those and focus on these. Stats wise, this is like solid, about what you would pay. It's a little understated, but it has a really powerful ability. This is a 2 mana card. You don't splash for your early game plays. So this, while on rate, is really strong. It's good on turn 2, bad later. So you can discount this. This card, it does a little more, but would you pay 4 mana for this card? Maybe. So you're not getting that much for being able to splash this card. Like, it doesn't, the impact isn't high enough, in my opinion. Now for this card can win games and also have a lot of artifacts. So this can be really potent. So this is a consideration. Now for this card, am I gonna splash blue and also play a bunch of 6 mana cards? I'm probably not gonna play this. But for these, I'll put them, I'll think about it for later. But first, for now, I want to try construct a green-black deck, since those 2 colors look pretty good. So I'm gonna set aside all the cards that are pretty good in these colors, and then I'm gonna just eliminate them to put together the card count that I need. So a lot of these cards are pretty good, and then I also need to take into consideration my creature counts and my other spells. Now this is gonna look like a big mess, so I don't need these. Flask, from what I saw in my pool, I don't have great use for that. Actually, you know what? Flask works pretty well with alloys, so it's a possibility. Now, it doesn't seem like there's too many cards for Symmetry Matrix. That card is really difficult to make work. It's really so we have 2 assembly workers, and these are both understated. I'm probably not going to play these. Actually, yeah, I'm probably not going to play these. Alright, so these are pretty expensive. You still need to be playing spells. So I don't have red to take advantage of this. 8 mana for a 4/5 is pretty bad. Because you gotta think about it. People can play disenchant to kill your 8-drop, and then if you just drop an 8-drop and they disenchant it, you're probably gonna lose. So that's a big cost to just playing big things that don't do anything. Which is why this card is really good, because even if they kill this, you gain 6 life, which can buy you a lot of time. Alright, so this is definitely more than 40 cards.
That's a huge pull.
So I can trim this down and see if there's powerful cards that I might want to fit in. Like, it doesn't look like the power level of the other cards are that compelling. So chances are, I can put this in. Chances are I won't need to splash for these. But actually this card, it does a really powerful thing that I can't do with other cards. If the board stalls out, this can win the game, and I might have a couple ways to fix my colors. This, I think the impact is way too low. You're not getting a huge thing and something that you can't do with other cards. Looking at this pool, I don't really have any 6 cost cards, so this card doesn't really do anything, so I'm gonna take those out. So this is the only card that I'm considering splashing for, and I might also be able to play this land. One thing you want is ways to mitigate a flood, and this is how you can do it. But it's also colorless, so there is a cost. But because I'm playing 2 colors, chances are I will be able to reliably cast my spells. So this is probably going to make my deck. But I will think about this after I look through what I can build with my deck. I might not need to splash because I might have a pretty good 2-color deck. Alright, so now let's see. Alright, so let's move some of this over. Alright, so Giant Growth, amazing trick. Revenant is pretty slow. Disfigure, it's pretty good. Disfigure, it can kill 2-drops, but it can also blow out trades. So you can use this to shrink big creatures and win trades that way. And for 1 mana, that's huge. Bushwhack seems like a pretty good card, and I will probably play it. But you do need larger creatures. But because I'm in green, I might be able to do that. But I also might not, so that's something to think about. Alright, now for my 2-drops. So I would play this. It's good on 2, it's good on 6. And playing this on 6 is actually pretty scary because oftentimes your opponent has to block with 2 creatures. Because like if they play a bunch of 2s and 3s, they're gonna have to double block to deal with this. And they can also just play this on 2, so this is pretty good. Now Sigil of Valor, I may play because I might need ways to break board stalls, so that's a card I like. Power Stone, Fracture. I think I might make enough Power Stone, so I'm probably gonna play this. This card's amazing. These are good. And then these I want to set aside here. I might pick those later. So for a Chromatic Lantern, it looks like I'm not gonna play 5 colors nonsense, so I'm probably not gonna play this. Oh, these cards are fine. Probably not gonna play these. Now for the 4 mana cards, this is good. Might play these. Might play these. Now for my 5 mana cards, it looks like I don't have much ways to draw cards, so these are 5 mana 4/5s, not great, so I might not play them. I might not play, well, this card's amazing. Now among these, I like this, I like this. Alright, so I might... I don't know how to evaluate this card, so I might play that card. Alright, so this is 5, 10, like 17. Okay, I can make a lot of cuts. Alright, looking at my deck on removal, honestly, probably not going to play this. Probably want to just, if you just play creatures, instead of like play 5-drop, you can just attack with a 5-drop every single turn. And you'll do a lot more damage that way, so I'm probably not going to play this. So these cards are just amazing. So I'm gonna set these aside for now. Because I have so much choice, I'm gonna try to take out the cards that are not that good. Also, I need to have a good curve. Like these cards are amazing that I would play in pretty much any deck. So right now I'm putting the cards that I think are really good and I'm definitely playing. So it'll make my cutting decisions a lot easier. So wow, I can create so many Power Stones. I don't know how I feel about Gix's Press. It might still be worth playing. The thing is, I can make so many Power Stones, but I need ways to take advantage of them, which I might not have. Actually, you know, with so many Power Stones, I might actually be able to play more of my artifact creatures. They would actually be better. Alright. Looks like I have a lot of good cards here. No, I need to take into consideration my curve. I don't have that many 2s, I have plenty of 3s. And I still have too many cards. So, these cards, because I don't have great ways to take advantage of the Power Stones, these might not be good enough. Let's see, so my late game is pretty good. 2, 4. Let's see, blue, whites. Chances of me splashing 2 colors unlikely, so 2, 4, 7. Alright, you know what? Now I should separate my creatures, so I have a good idea of my curve. Let's see. I do want more 2s. But I do have 1s. Alright, so still have a lot of cards here. I don't have too many creatures. Let's see. These are really good cards though. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I need to add about 5 more cards, but I also need a lot more creatures. My creature count is actually really low. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And also I need a lot of creatures to take advantage of these combat tricks and the sigil, so I have a lot of combat tricks in my deck. So what I really need to add into my deck is creatures. I need to get my creature count a lot higher. So even though I have a lot of these really good combat tricks, I need to have a good density of creatures. So I might sideline those. Alright, so I can take a look at colorless again, see if there's cards that I want. I have so many ways to make Power Stones that actually some of my somewhat inefficient artifact creatures may actually become a lot more powerful. Because I'm creating so many Power Stones. So I can like play this on turn 3. There's actually a number of plays. Play this on turn 3 and then I can play like one of these guys on turn 5. That's something I can do. Also, actually this card, because I can make so many Power Stones, I might actually be able to reliably pump this creature. So these might become considerations. But I do need more creatures. Otherwise, these combat tricks, they just sit in my hands. Right. I don't think I have really black cards that I want to put in. Let's see. There is also consideration about decking. Honestly, this is a pretty good blocker. This might be worth playing. This can win games. It blocks pretty well. And actually, if I mill myself, are there, other than Gix's commands, is there a payoff? If I mill myself, I could draw a Clay Revenant from milling. Also, Clay Revenant is a pretty sweet card with Sigil of Valor, so I always have a creature to attack with. And it's not the worst stats for a 1-mana card. And also, because I have so many Power Stones, it's something I can spend my mana on, so I really like this. As much as I like Gix's Caress, I really think I need more creatures. So I still need to add a number of cards. The thing is, the stats on this creature is not terrible, but how am I spending this mana? I can spend it for this. I'm not seeing too many ways to spend my mana. I mean, this card, I could dump a lot of mana. Honestly, I might just be able to play this card because it's not the worst stats, with the potential of being able to pump this guy. It's not the worst stats, so I might consider this card. Also, Recluse has Reach, Depth Touch, and this might be good enough. Because I have some really high value cards I can put back. So like, Alloy Animist. Imagine if this was the last card, if this was in my graveyard, I could put this on top of my deck. I can play this. And then I can turn all of my artifact creatures into 4/4s and close out the game. So I might actually want to play this. Because if this is Reach and Depth Touch, well, this will trade for most things. It will kill flyers, it will block really big creatures, so I might play this. It also gives me attrition because I have Gix's Command, so, and also the Might of Weakstone. I have cards that are really powerful. So I was able to increase my creature count by a little bit. So right now 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, so I might want to add 1 or 2 more cards. Because I have Bushwhack that can fetch for lands, I can play slightly lower land count. So I might want to add 1 more card. See my creature count, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I probably want a creature. Like 12 creatures is still kind of low. Especially because I have all these combat tricks, I really need to have creatures. So, one card that looks plausible to me is Power Plant Worker. Because I have so many Power Stones, it might be effortless for me to just pump this and make this a 6-power creature. So that's attractive. These other cards are pretty inefficient. So, 5 mana, 6/6. I have a lot of Power Stones, so I can play this for 4. So this would actually be not the worst card. So that's a consideration. Right, so this right here is 40 cards. Let's look at the curve. So for the early game, I have 4 early game plays. I can also play the Sigil, so that's kind of 5. And then on turn 3, I have 3 plays, which also I can play this. It's kind of 4 plays. It's not the worst. And then 3 here, then 2 here, 1 here. The curve is okay. The deck looks okay. I would want to fit in more creatures, but I don't see great pulls. Like, the stats on this is okay, but I don't want to just mill my best cards. Because if I mill this, then I have to use this card to get it back, and I don't think I have a way. Actually, I have one way to shuffle my deck. But like, if this is the last card of my deck, that does me no good. Right, so Chromatic Lantern, I don't think... I don't... Let's see, so that makes all my lands any color. Is there a world where I actually play the guy? What's his name? Urza? Is there a world? Is there a world? Okay, so what does this actually do for my deck? It doesn't do too much. It's gonna be near impossible to cast a spell because I need to have Chromatic Lantern. Otherwise, I'm not really gonna be able to cast this. So as much as it would be fun to play this combination, probably not. Alright, let me look over my deck. Alright, so I have these two. Like, these cards are... This is what you want in your early game creatures. You can play this on one, not great, but there are creatures that it can block. There are... In red, there's a 1 red 3/1 with Reach. There's also a 1 green 3/1 with Ward 2. So this can just... 1 mana card just block their 2-drops. And this card... This can block some things similar to what this can block, but you can just keep bringing this back. And because you have so many Power Stones, this can also be a great way to chump block and win a race. Now this card is really flexible, and I do have some bigger creatures, so I can make use of this. Now for these cards, this I can play on 2, this I can play on 2, and this is a great ability to take advantage of all my Power Stones. Epic Confrontation is great. Sigil of Valor is a way for me to break board stalls. So I don't have the most creatures, so I might want to take this out for another creature, but I think with all my removal spells, I might be able to have at least a couple creatures, so that all I need is 1 creature to attack, push damage, while I have a ton of creatures to block. So my opponent really needs to deal with this, otherwise the board is going to be in my favor. Power Stone, I have so many Power Stones that this is just going to be a removal spell. Now, these guys are really above rates. This, pretty good combat trick. I might take out some combat tricks, some of my weaker combat tricks in favor of more creatures. So those are cards I'll have to consider for my sideboard. Alright, so these cards are really good. These are all great. So now that I'm pretty happy with what I have here. So let me count one more time. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 plus this can bring back 2. That's a little less than what you want in a creature-focused deck, but my non-creature spells are pretty good. Like this, these draw into more cards. This draw into more cards. So I'm pretty happy with what I have here. Now that I have my main deck taken care of, I need to consider my sideboard. So looking at my deck, it looks like this is kind of a mid-range deck. So where my deck can falter is I could get run over. So if I want to fight off an aggressive player, I need to have early game. So let me look through these cards. Alright, so I have some here. Do I have black cards? It doesn't look like I have more black cards that I could be playing. Let's look at my colorless cards. Power and toughness is equal number of cards in your hands. When you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. No. This is an interesting card. Alright, it doesn't look like I have that many. Now, do I play this card? No, not this card. Okay, so... Alright, so... It looks like these cards are way too inefficient. So, probably not going to play these. All the cards I have here are pretty good on rates. These cards, I can play these, I can play these. Alright, so these are probably my sideboard cards. If I'm facing someone with a lot of bombs, I might want to consider these cards. If I'm playing someone who's really playing efficient cards, I might want to play these. And I can side into these creatures if the stats warrant it. So if my opponent has a bunch of 2/2s, these guys are pretty good. These guys are pretty good for blocking my opponent's early game plays. And this solid stats. Also, the milling is relevant for my Butcher and my Revenants. So for sideboarding, I would probably consider these creatures as potential sideboards. The tricks, depending on the stats my opponent is playing and also whether or not they're employing fight spells, you can totally blow out your opponent with these cards. And this to deal with some bombs. And this is a wild card. And this might actually be an option to consider for the sideboard. This I'm probably going to play. So now that I have my sideboard figured out, let's figure out a mana base for this deck. So it looks like 2. Alright, so these are all green. This is black. These are black, black. All these are green. So these are black. Right, so 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have like 11 green cards. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe like 10 black. It looks like my early game is a lot of green, but I also have double black cards. So as much as I would prefer not having an even split, I'm probably leaning towards an even split. So because this can fetch for a black source, I'm probably going to play 9 green and 8 black. So 9 forest, 8 swamps, and then that is going to be my deck.
Very nice. I love it. Thank you, Wilson, for going through that entire thought process with us. It was enlightening. A lot of the cards I wouldn't have picked. So, yeah. Like the Sigil of Valor, I would have totally left out of the deck.
Yeah,
so.
Also, actually, I said 9/8. I would probably put this in my deck, so maybe it would be like 8/8 plus this card.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably my deck. This looks pretty good.
Yeah. Well, if you're here next time to play against Wilson, anybody who's playing against Wilson tonight, if they win, they get 3 set packs, and if they lose, Wilson's getting 3 set packs tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah, and thanks for making this deck, and all these cards are yours.
Yeah.
Enjoy. So thanks so much, and we will see you guys at the game parlor, and maybe you'll get a shot at playing against Wilson.
All right, good luck.
All right, see you next time.